when I was a little boy, about the age of 5, I had something on my pockets.
Well, well, well. We are indeed back again, and we should be live, and hopefully we are. As far as I'm aware, we're good to go, okay? A wee bit late, so I do apologize, but hey, it is me. I had to get rid of the cat, so I kicked the cat out. So she's gone. She doesn't want to sit in on this one tonight. But hopefully, everyone here would like to. A bit of a how could I describe it? I don't know. A look back at the history of the Knights Templar, but also a look at certain clans in Scotland and also the Picts or the Pictish, if you like. Does anybody know what the meaning of the word Pict is? Or Pictish people, a Pictish person? Can someone tell us what it means? If not, we will hopefully find out tonight. So it's a wee bit different from anything that we usually do. We have talked about the Knights Templar quite a lot in the past. They have crept up quite a few times, but tonight a wee bit different. Not only that, there's how could I? It's a bit like a connection because there's a local connection, right? Which is where I stay in Murrayshire or Morayshire, as some people call it, but it's Murrayshire, right? And in particular, it is Murrayshire, but it's based in Nairnshire to be precise. But, oh, God's sake, the Kingdom of Murrayshire, which was a thing at one point in the in the past, going back to at least medieval times of Scotland, the Kingdom of Morava or Moravian, I think. We might possibly look at that as well. If not tonight, in the future, it is one that we will definitely look at. The days when Murrayshire was indeed a kingdom, right? With its own king, who'd have thought it? Crazy world, but there you go. So the Pictish connection is a kind of local thing, and I feel drawn to it. And you might be thinking, well, what's the Picts got to do with the Knights Templar, blah blah blah. But hopefully, as we go on, fingers crossed, you'll get to see what I'm trying to say and what I'm going to be covering tonight. Might give you an idea as to where this, I guess, investigation might take us, because tonight, I believe, is going to be one of many. God granted, of course, right? You never know. So tonight will be the first, and mainly the topic is going to be the Knights Templar, right? So, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you are in this absolutely insane world that we live in. Yikes. Where do you even begin? Anybody? Does anybody want to take a crack at it? I hope everyone's doing well. It is indeed Friday, at least so I'm told. So, yeah, I hope everyone is enjoying their beginning to the weekend, right? The weekend. You go through the whole week and it weakens you. Then you get the weekend and you can say, sit back and drink a beer. I don't know. Whatever it is that you do, right? But yeah, the week can make you weak indeed. I'm sure everybody can vouch for that, right? We can all be guilty of knocking our pan in and doing too much when we shouldn't, right? We know we shouldn't, but with the society that we're in, it's all go, 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 get it done yesterday. And of course, people want things now, instantly. Not tomorrow, not next week. They don't want to hear it. They want it. They want what they want to do is order an item on their phone. Then within a split second, it's dropped on their head. Hooray! The future, right? Maybe it'll knock some sense into, well, me. That's for a start. We'll go with that. So, I hope everyone's doing well. We'll jump into the chat, say hello, and then I think we'll begin with. I've got a few slides, quite a few. I don't know how long we're going to be tonight. It could be long-winded. I'm afraid. So we'll jump in the chat. We'll get an audio check. The beautiful Justine in the hood, fantastic. A pleasure to see you. When was I last on? I'm unsure. Was it when I spoke to Met? Maybe about a week ago, right? So I've missed everyone. Good to see the wonderful Justine. Our meaties Moon in the hood as well. Great to see you back again. Carmel, Rich must be here as well somewhere, lurking, watching, right? The protector. Good to see Carmel from New Zealand. Where did it? Tree Dude in the hood. Good to see Tree Dude. Fantastic. Land Raver. Great stuff. Good to see you back again. I hope you're having a good Friday night. Wendy B. A pleasure to see Wendy back again. Who else did I see there? Quite a few people in the hood, right? Wow, what's happened? Everyone's bored. Carol as well. A pleasure to see Carol. Nathan in the hood. Great stuff, Nathan. Freemasons, which is satanic government. Yeah, we'll go with that, definitely. Yeah, it kind of all comes hand in hand. And I done a video and I showed people how close together the council building, the court building, and the Masonic Lodge, all in the very same bloody spot. Basically, you couldn't swing a cat without hitting all three of them, right? Not to be advised, but there you go. So good to see Nathan in the hood. Fantastic. Anybody that I missed? Yeah, I did. Oh man, I'll blame the mouse, right? I've got to blame someone. Clan Gun in the hood. A pleasure to see you long term back again. Fantastic. I hope you're doing well. Tree Dude, Wendy, Justine, Carol. It's a duck. Where did It's a Duck go? There we go. It's a Duck. A pleasure to see you tonight. Sandwich Bar in the hood. A pleasure to see you. Just seen you there. David as well. Good to see David. Fantastic. Painted people. Yep, that is indeed what Pictish or Pict seemingly means. At least that's what we're told. So, painted people, which is interesting, right? Painted people from the northeast of Bonnie, Scotland. Yeah, there's painted people here at the moment, but I don't know if I can say that. I might get arrested, right, for racial abuse. Pictish is a racial word now. You can't say it. Look out for it, right? But yeah, that is indeed the meaning of it. And we're going to expand on that to an extent, and it's quite interesting. When it comes to history, especially the local history, I find it fascinating. I really do. I get sort of engrossed in it, lost in it, putting my mind in this medieval world, trying to piece it together and imagine maybe what it would have been like. Because when it comes to history itself, it's very hard to find concrete evidence that there's no doubt whatsoever. There's not even any other theories. That's it, and that's it. When it comes to history, though, you potentially always get, well, the majority of the time, you get many different theories to whatever it may be, origins, what actually happened. Of course, what do they say about history? Well, they say it's always written by the winner. So the loser, I guess, yeah, might not get a say in what gets said, right? They'll be gone. So it's when it boils all down to it, history is depending on who you want to believe. That's kind of what it depends on. And at the moment, as time goes on, many theories are out there. And I think the majority of them are probably not true. Although I could be wrong, right? I could be wrong. Joni as well. Good to see Joni Rotten in the hood. Fantastic. Make sure you get subscribed. Hasdak as well. I'm trying to work this. Good to see Hasdak in the hood. Who else did I miss there? I hate missing people. I feel bad. I won't sleep now. Richard in the hood. Good to see Richard. And I think I got everyone right. So if I didn't, I apologize. Right. Oh, there's Bob as well. Good to see Bob. Robert back again. A pleasure. Oh, I seen Dom is here as well. Dominic, a pleasure to see you back again. It's a duck, Spanish chicken. Hey, I think we got there. Unbelievably, right? Celebrate. I can hear the clapping in the background. So what we're gonna do, I'm not gonna yap on for an hour saying hello like I usually do. Watch this, I'm gonna do it now. So I'm gonna try and get pretty much down to it because we've got a lot to kind of cover. And I guess if you pardon the pun, we're gonna be kind of painting a picture to a certain extent. Speaking of the painted people, of course, right? So I think we got everyone. Oh, Dave as well. Good to see Dave. We almost missed David, but hey, we got there. I hope you're doing well. So I'll take you now. Where do I want to begin? Decisions, right? I think we'll do a bit of a recap on one or two things that can pretty much set us on our way in regards to the Knights Templar and in particular in Scotland, right? Excuse me. Now, some people don't even know that they're connected with this area. There is a lot of people who talk about Roslin Chapel. Do people know about that? Now, legend has it, it was built by the Knights Templar. And if you ask me, yeah, I think it was. But there is other historians who say no, it wasn't, right? So again, yeah, I'm not a historian, but there is people who point to it being completed by the Knights Templar, whereas Wikipedia will tell you two historians in particular say, no, it's not the Knights Templar, right? And we will likely expand on that as well. So we'll begin with pretty much the knights themselves. There's been a lot. Do you know this? There's a lot of books out there. There's multiple, maybe even hundreds of books, and maybe similar amount of movies. Maybe not as much, but many that have been made about the knights. And to be honest, I don't think I've seen very many. I think I've seen maybe one or two. It's never really been a topic that I've had much of a desire or interest for. And when I think back, anytime I thought of the Knights or the Knights Templar, I kind of thought, well, England, right? They're English knights fighting for England. But little did I know that I had actually been on the grounds of a Knights Templar castle here on my doorstep, and I didn't even know. And I thought I knew the place where I stayed, but there you go, right? And we will talk about the castle in particular, and I don't think there is any question whatsoever about the knights being. I'm unsure if they've been labeled as building the castle, but they definitely stayed there. They occupied it. They owned the land. This land, the kingdom of Murray and Nairn. And of course, yeah, what we'll do is we'll jump at the moment. So I hope everyone's doing well. Um, I'm hoping that we're going to be covering a fair bit tonight. I'm assuming we're all right with the audio. Um, I've not seen anybody writing in capitals, the audio! No audio! And we've been going for about, what, I don't know, an hour. And there's no audio. Yeah, we've done that before. So, yeah, we've got quite a few people in the hood tonight. Fantastic. We're all good. Great. Great, because I might not be able to look in the chat. You know what I'm like. So much appreciated. Everyone's all good. Yep. If there is any issues with the audio, I don't know. Try and let me know. Somehow, I'll do my best to keep an eye out. Let me see. How much battery have I got? I don't want to cause issues, so I like to leave it the way it is. Knowing me, I'd make it worse, right? So we're back again. Oh, there's Andrew as well. Fantastic. Not an hour. Yeah, I was only joking. I was only kidding there, right? But exaggerating. We'll go with that. But usually I talk for about an hour and then we'll look at whatever the main event is going to be. Right. But tonight we're hopefully getting right down to it. So if I take you now, I should have this. Yeah. If I make it the full screen. In fact, if I make it that one, is that going to work? Does it look? Yeah, that'll work, right? Hey, it doesn't take much to confuse me. And hey, people know that anyway, so. But we're all good to go. Now, like I said, and people know, I'm not an expert or a historian or a journalist. I did have a keen interest in, not journalism, but history. And history is actually the only topic that I done really well in at school. And I'm laughing, but it's shocking, right? The rest of them not too bad, but not even maybe some of them average, but others terrible. But with history, I was really happy with the results that I got. And I think I owe a lot of that to basically down to an interest in history, but also the teacher that I had. I had my history teacher for 4 years straight in my academy, and she was an older lady, but she was great. She was so switched on. Her husband was actually the head teacher as well. And she taught me a lot, especially when it comes to history and what to try and maybe investigate. Look for how to look for maybe lies and where to begin in any investigation. And I've talked about it before, but on the wall of the class, there was a hand and it had the 5 W's on it: who, what, where, when, why. And I remember her clear as day saying, anytime you begin an investigation, that is where you begin. The 5 W's. So I can at least pass on that a bit of good information, right? And it's done me well in my own personal view. Even from just that, the 5 W's, I managed to put a name on the Georgia Guidestones. And I'm still waiting to be debunked, right? But there you go. Maybe someone will one day come along and debunk it. And again, I'm not an investigator or a journalist, just basically really curious, but only in when it comes to certain topics, which is, yeah, the way it is. So if we begin with the Knights Templar, like I said, in my mind, thinking back, anytime I thought about the Knights Templar, I thought, yeah, England probably fighting for King George or, I don't know, King Henry, right? But seemingly, it would go back to France. Bonjour. Don't worry, I won't do that again. And it's about the only word I know. So they reckon the Knights Templar trace their origin back to shortly after the First Crusade around 1119. Okay. A French nobleman from the Champagne region, Hughes d'Apains, collected 8 of his knight relatives to protect pilgrims on their journey to visit the Holy Land, which is, of course, Jerusalem. Or is it? We'll go with that, right? For the time being. So that's kind of the official line, the official narrative for where the Knights Templar originated. But is it? Could it be somewhere else? So 1119, this French nobleman thought, hey, do you know what? What the heck? Where's David? Get John. Get the other 3. We're putting together a group to protect the people on their pilgrimage to Jerusalem. And as far as I know, the story goes something like, on this pilgrimage to the Holy Land, Christians in particular were being slaughtered, robbed by what they called Muslim groups at the time. And it was going by what they've written, it was quite a big issue, seemingly. And you would have groups of Christians who were quite well off, who had quite a lot of money, who were actually heading to the Holy Land to give out money. But on the way, they were getting robbed of the money and killed at the same time, as the story would go. So the knights became the people who protected. They were like bodyguards, seemingly, protecting the Christians who made the pilgrimage to what they called the Holy Land in Jerusalem, I believe, right? but we'll expand on that more as time goes on. So that is kind of the official line, the official narrative, right? Right. I had to I had to cut out there. You might have heard no audio or not heard audio. Whatever you do, don't have children, right? It's not a good idea. So let me take you to the next one, right? This time I'm gonna have to make it bigger actually. Uh, let me see. There we go. So again, well, you've got a different date here, around 1118. So maybe they're unsure what date exactly, which that wouldn't be a shock. Is there anything that is again set in stone? Again, it's down to who you want to believe, right? Take your pick. So again, this French knight got his groups together, but it mentions here as well, and acquaintances calling it the poor fellow soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Solomon. Poor fellow soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Solomon. Right. Which is now known or became the Knights Templar. What language did they speak? Seemingly, the Knights Templar spoke Latin. They were a multinational group. They were a multinational group of people who were all Roman Catholic, and Latin was the language of the Catholic Church. So, while some may have spoken French, English, or other languages, they all would have been able to understand and speak Latin. Right? And that is worth note. So quite smart, because I can't speak Latin. Well, I can say Sicatur ad astra, which means reach for the stars. And I know that because it's Elgin City Football Club's motto. And you know this, when it comes to mottos, it kind of gives the game away. Signs, symbols, crests. So when you look at the Templars when they were at their prime, they were not to be messed with, right? You did not cross them. They would have been looked at as like heroes and celebrities of their day. They weren't just knights, they were like a banking entity. The Knights Templar were an elite fighting force of their day, highly trained, well equipped, and highly motivated. One of the tenets of their religious order was that they were forbidden from retreating in battle unless outnumbered 3-1. You're gonna be there counting. Is it time to go? No, they've got one short. You've got to stay, right? I mean, could you imagine that? So unless outnumbered 3-1, and even then, only by order of their commander, or if the temper flag was flown. So quite a reputation. I reckon in their day, people would have wanted to be a knight. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they were hated, right? But I could imagine people wanting to be part of it. You know what people are like. We've probably not changed very much since these days in the 1300s even. I mean, it's hard to even think about the 90s. Never mind trying to put your mind in the days of the Knights Templar. So it all went a bit wrong, of course, right? Because in 1307, the year of the Knights Templar fall, King Philip the Fourth, is it? Was the King of France. He is the one responsible for arresting and banishing Jews from France. He also arrested, tortured, and finally burned the Templars to death as a punishment for their blasphemous acts. So they were portrayed pretty much overnight as public enemy number one. And on the year 1307, October the 13th, seemingly, at least the Templars of France all got arrested on the very same night and tortured until admitting crimes that they never even done, seemingly. So you may kind of think, well, that would have been it then, right? It started in France. It went on. They took people to the pilgrimage. They became very successful, very rich. But then King Philip said, look at what you've been doing. I think sodomy is mentioned. Is it heresy? Which is, I think, would be basically deemed as believing, or not believing, but worshipping the devil. So they were portrayed as the baddest of the baddest, like that, overnight. And seemingly, they all got burnt at the stake, forced to admit, and then still burnt at the stake anyway, right? So that is at least what history would tell you. It's I mean, there's a lot more to it clearly. But in short, that's what they say happened. And people, I mean, you wouldn't be, it wouldn't be a far cry for people to think, well, but that must have been it for them. They were finished, right? I don't think so. No, no. It never ended there. Of course, a lot of them went elsewhere. They were already elsewhere. Right across the board. And I mean everywhere. That is at least my view on it. So again, going back to how it seemingly ended, there was shock throughout Europe when all Templars were arrested in France on the same day in 1307. By March 1314, the last of the Templars were burnt at the stake. The last of them. This is from the National Archives. Supposedly, cursing the Pope and Philip that they would both die within the year. The Pope died in April 1314. Shock horror. Maybe the curse worked then, right? What about the other guy? I bet he was worried when the Pope died. Oh, Jesus. They've put the curse on me. Even the mental suffering from that would be enough, right? Yeah. So seemingly he died. Well, that very year he died. Which is interesting, right? That's one that we may get back to. So I'll take you now to where do I want to go now? I want to come out of the full screen. Right. Remove. We'll come back to the slides, right? Because I think there's about 30 or more. So it's been a while since we've had so many. But on top of that, we've got about 30 different tabs as well. So fun and games, right? Fun and games. It appears that we're still going, which is great. Now I want to take you now. Should I just share the full screen? I think that would be a lot easier. I don't see the point in not, because it makes it easy for me. I'm saying easy, but bloody hell, it's me. Are we going? Yeah, we're gonna need audio. There is a part of a book that I want you to hear, and it goes on for about 10 minutes. But there's things in it that you kind of need to hear. Then we go on again. Video wise, there might be one or two more, but they're very short. And then mainly it's different websites and articles and information, right? We'll go with that. So let me see. Let me just double check that we're all good. Yeah, we're all good. We're good to go. So I'll take you to, is that going to be big enough screen? It's the biggest one I've got, he says. So we'll have to do, man, you can only work with the tools that you've got, right? We'll go with that. Let me see. I think that'll be big enough for me. Right. No more said. The least said on that, the better. So I'll take you to... Now, the name of the book that we're kind of beginning with here is Light on Masonry, a collection of all the most important documents on the subject of Freemasonry. And it's written by William Morgan. And I know some people will know who Morgan is, right? Especially if they know a thing or two about Freemasonry. Because that's where I've heard the name before. And I think we've actually, excuse me, I think we've actually talked about him in the past. Morgan and Mr. Pike, Albert Pike. Two entities you would not trust. Put it that way. Enemies of the people would be my conclusion on them. So this book came out quite a while ago. The year would be 1829. Looks like it's been messed up, but it is 1829, right? That's when it came out, and it's seemingly it details and documents what Masons need to do from start to finish, including initiations, rituals, you name it. So we're now getting into it, right? And we're going to listen to a part of this book, and like I said, it goes on for about, I think, maybe 10 minutes, right? And I want you to listen to what's being said because I'm not good at that. So some people might be the same. But of course, people can go back over it. Oh, who's phoning me now? Oh, God's sake. Who is it? Oh, they're gone. I think it might have been my wife. She should know that I'm live at the moment. She's away doing a photography shoot at some dance event, so which is good. She's a fantastic photographer, so hopefully a successful photographer. They seem to do quite well, right? So here's hoping. So I'll take you now to this video, and it's the guy reading the audiobook of, like I said, Light on Masonry, written by William Morgan. There's the guy there. Of course, it's even even they can't even take a picture of themselves without a Masonic symbol. It's comical. Yet some people still don't see it. But there you go. Of course, there's no doubt that Morgan is or was at least the highest of Masons. And again, it came out in 1829. So we're going to a certain part even of the book Light on Freemasonry. And the chapter in particular is Knight of the Eagle and Sovereign. So we're going to play it, right? Now, I reckon it's about 9 minutes and then we'll take it from there. So it's not the whole lot, not the whole half an hour. But if you notice, going back to the book, where is it? The image. I think. There it is there, but it's upside down or sideways. You can see it better here. The guy's cut off someone's head, right? Which is interesting as well. Because when you think about the Pictish people, yeah, they would cut your head off big time. Not only that, they would put it on a stick. And some people would associate that with being actions carried out by some Zulu tribe or Hindu tribe from the Far East or the Middle East. But of course, it happened right here, even where I stay. I'm kind of hoping it doesn't happen today. But who am I? Who am I to know, right? So yeah, quite a grim looking image that. But what I'll do is I'll mute me, and then for about 10 minutes we will listen to this book, right? The Light on Masonry. So Here we go.
The degree called Knight of the Eagle, and Sovereign Prince of Rose-Croix de Hirodon. In this work there are 2 degrees, entitled Knight of the Eagle and Sovereign Prince of Rose-Croix. The above is given as conferred in England, Scotland, and America, the other is conferred in France. Form of admission. When a brother wishes to receive this high degree, he must produce his certificate of Knight of the East, Prince of Jerusalem, and Knight of the East and West. The following articles must be read to him, to which he must agree before he can be received. First, he must present at the door of the chapter the following petition, and must kneel while one of the brethren reads it. Brother, who is a Knight of the East, begs leave to represent to the sovereign chapter the earnest desire he has, to arrive to the sublime degree of Rose-Croix, the point of perfection of Masonry, and that you will be pleased, being at present assembled, to admit him among the number of knights, if he is found worthy. And your petitioner shall never cease to make vows to heaven, for the prosperity of the order and the good health of all the brethren. After the petition is read, the candidate must sign it. Second, the candidate must remain on his knees, at the door of the chapter, until the answer is thrown to him on the floor by a knight, when he rises and reads it. In the answer he will find the day appointed for his reception, and the name of the knight, who is to give him the necessary instructions. The knight who is named in the answer, directs the candidate to procure 3 pair of gloves, 1 pair of which must be women's, and 2 sticks of fine sealing wax for the seals. He also directs him to present to each of the brethren, 1 pair of men's, and 1 pair of women's gloves, and 2 sticks of sealing wax. Third, he must make a donation of at least $2 to the Superior Lodge, Chapter, or Council of the Sublime Degrees, which must be done before he is received, and may be appropriated either to defray the expenses of the order or be given to the poor. He must also present to the lodge 3 white wax candles for the master, and 2 to each of the knights, at his reception, previous to his entering into the 3rd apartment. Fourth, he must solemnly engage on his honor, never to reveal the place where he was received, who received him, nor those who were present at his reception. Fifth, he solemnly promises to conform to all the ordinances of the chapter, and keep himself uniformly clothed as far as he is able. Sixth, he must promise to acknowledge his master at all times and in all places, never to confer this degree without permission, and to answer for the probity and respectability of those whom he proposes. Seventh, that he will be extremely cautious in granting this degree, that it may not be multiplied unnecessarily. If the candidate promises to perform these requisitions, he may be admitted. Title of the order. This order, which is the ultimatum of Masonry, has different titles. It is called Rose-Croix from the rose on the cross of the jewel, being emblematical of the Son of God who is compared to a rose by the evangelist. Knight of the Eagle, because of the eagle represented in the jewel. Knight of the Pelican, emblematical of the Son of God, who shed his blood for the great family of mankind. De Hirodon, because the first chapter of this degree was held on a mountain of that name, situated between the west and north of Scotland, and where there is at this day the superior lodge and residence of the Sovereign Grand Chapter. They meet in an old castle belonging to the Knights of the Rose-Croix. It is from this circumstance that 3/4 of the lodges of England took the name of the Rose-Croix de Hirodon, and the other 1/4 the name of Rose-Croix, Knights of St. Andrew, because the first Masons of Scotland made a procession every year on the festival of that saint, and because it is the day of their regular constitution, which has induced many to call it St. Andrew's, which also is in commemoration of the troubles of that country. The form of the true jewel being lost, they substituted the cross of St. Andrew, though the ceremonies of this degree have no connection with that jewel. They are yet worn in the Lodge of Cologne, suspended to a red ribbon in the form of a collar. In Berlin to a green ribbon, they also wear it to a buttonhole. Jewel. The jewel of this degree is a compass of gold extended to 22 to 2 degrees. The head of the rose, the stock of which comes to a point. Compass is a cross, the foot of which compass is a covered in the middle of the rests on the middle of the circle, and the head touches the head of the compass. On one side an eagle, touching a quarter of the circles, the wings and the head reclining. On the other side a pelican picking its breast to nourish its young, which must be in a nest under it. On the head of the compass must be a crown. On the circle must be engraved on one side the knight in hieroglyphics, on the other side the password. The a bright red color, of at least 3 inches broad, edged with black, a rose at the lower end and a black cross on each side. The knights must wear this jewel in every lodge, and announce themselves at the door as Knights of Rose Croix, that they may receive the honor due to them. Aprons. For the first chamber, white leather lined, and bordered with black, 3 red roses placed triangularly on the flap, a human skull with 2 thigh bones placed across each other, also on the flap. At the bottom of the apron must be a globe, surrounded by a serpent, and on the pocket of the apron a large eye. For the second chamber, red lined and bordered with the same. On the middle of the flap must be embroidered a triple triangle, with 3 squares within 3 circles, an eye in the middle, which forms the jewel of the second chamber. On each side of this must be embroidered 2 compasses, the point of one stands in one square of the circle, and the other stands on a triangle, with the point down. Jewel and order. For the first chamber, a broad, black ribbon from the left shoulder to the right hip, 3 inches broad, on the breast a small cross of red ribbon, below this must be a red rose, and a small rose of black below this, to which must be suspended a gold cross. For the second chamber, the order and jewel of this degree. Clothing of the knights, jewels, and titles of the officers. All the brethren must be dressed in black clothes, with their swords on. The master must be decorated with a brilliant star of 7 points, which he wears on his breast over his heart. In the middle must be a circle, and in its center the letter G. The following 3 words must also be engraved within the circle around the G: faith, hope, charity. The master is called ever most perfect sovereign. The senior warden wears a triangle, and is called most excellent and perfect. The junior warden wears the square and compasses, one above the other, and is called most excellent and perfect. The brethren are called most respectable knights, princes of masons. First apartment. The first apartment is a representation of Mount Calvary. It must be hung with black tapestry, and lighted with 33 yellow wax candles, in 3 candlesticks of 11 branches each. There must be 3 columns of 6 feet high, and on the chapiter of each must be wrote one of the following words, in large characters of gold: faith, hope, charity. These columns may serve as candlesticks. At the east end of the chapter there must be a hill or bank raised to represent Mount Calvary, upon which must be placed 3 large crosses, and upon each a human skull and 2 thigh bones across. In the front of this must be the altar covered with black, on which must stand a cross and 2 yellow wax candles, lighted. Behind the altar must be a black curtain to intercept the view of the mount. It must extend to the top of the chapter and be made to open in the middle, and be drawn to each side. The master must be seated on the last step of the altar, having a small table before him, on which is a lighted wax candle, a Bible, square and compasses, and triangle. There must be no chairs or benches in the chapter, but all the brethren must be seated on the floor. All the brethren must wear over their black clothes, a white satin chasuble, bordered with black ribbon, 2 inches in width. A red cross, 2 inches in width, must reach from the top to the bottom of it. It must be made as the chasuble of a Catholic priest which he wears over the alb, when celebrating Mass. Second apartment. The east end of the second apartment must represent, in transparent painting, the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the Savior of mankind, over which must be a brilliant triangle surrounded with glory. The hanging must be of transparent painting, representing the light blue ether of the sky, interspersed with glory. The altar must be splendidly decorated, and illuminated with transparent lights. There must be no candles in this apartment, as all the light must be received through the transparencies. No other figure must be painted on the hangings but the representation of our Savior at the resurrection. At the east, and behind the hangings, at some little distance, must be an organ or a band of music. Third apartment. On the hangings of the third apartment must be represented, in transparent paintings, all the horrors which we attach to the idea of hell, or of a place formed for the punishment of the worst of crimes, such as human figures and monsters with convulsed muscles, engulfed in flames, etc. etc. On each side of the door a human skeleton, with an arrow in their hands. Each apartment must be separate, only connecting with a narrow door. To open. Master. My perfect brothers, knights princes of masons, assist me to open this chapter. The wardens repeat the same one after another. The master then knocks 3, 4, which is repeated by the wardens.
So, did we catch any of that? I'm hoping some people maybe did. Failing that, you can look back. But quite interesting, and quite a few things that got talked about caught my eye in regards to the Knights Templar and this here location, Murrayshire, where I indeed am. And you might have heard the mention of a location between the west and north of Scotland. Unknown location. Now, up until about say 2 months ago, I never knew how local to me the Knights Templar actually were. Now, going back to that book, it talked about a degree called Rose Croix or Crow or Cross. Croix, which I believe is French for cross. Rosie, cross, Rosie. Now, when it comes to the French pronunciation of Croix, some people say crow or craw, while others say croy, like the guy in the video would say, Rose Croy. And we do know that Rose Croy is indeed a degree in the Masonic order. We know that. We know the Knights Templar is also connected to the Masonic order as a degree. This one, a degree in on its own, and debated on, well, it's depending again on who you listen to, how high of a power this degree actually had. But even with that, it was a very, very, very high degree. Very high degree. And they talk about here, Rose Croix, sometimes princes of Rose Croix de Herodin. And it also talks about the Knights Templar. If we look at this bit here, this important degree is all of the advanced grades, the most widely diffused, being found in numerous rites. It is the 18th of the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite, the 7th of the French or modern, the 18th of the Council of Emperors of the East and West, 3rd of the Royal Order of Scotland, the 12th of the Elect of Truth, and the 7th of the Filiates. It was also given formally in some encampments of Knights Templar. And was the 6th degree conferred by the encampment of Baldwin at Bristol in England. It must not, however, be confounded with the Rosicrucians, who, however, similar in name, were only a hermetic and mystical order. So you could, I guess, see how some people might confuse Rosie or Rose Cross with Rosicrucian or the Rosicrucian order. Because, yeah, very similar in name and also, as far as I'm aware, symbology. But confusion is the name of the game when it comes to secret societies. You see, we think we know, but we don't know. Of course we don't know. If we knew, we'd be them. But we ain't them. That's why people like me and many others who know a lot more than me kind of get left chasing bits of information all the time, getting nowhere, never getting to the bottom of it, right? Anybody else like that? Just me? So that gives us a wee bit more on at least the degree of Rose Croix, the Knights Templar, and again, the Masonic order itself. And it was indeed a high degree that spread right across the board, east to west. Lodges in every town and city, no matter what, no matter where. Guaranteed. So if we jump to, there was mention, some of you might have heard about the pelican, the Rose Croix, sort of crest, if you like, with the pelican which is feeding its young with its own blood. It's got a gash on its breast, and it's feeding its young with her own blood. As you'll see, if I can work it, which is a wee bit there, look. Are people going to see that? I think it should be all right. I can hardly see it. That's the issue. But there you go. So there's a better image there. That would be given as the Masonic Rose Croix kind of logo. It's got the crown. It's got the Masonic emblems. It's got the rose. It's got the cross. It's got the cannibalism. And then you've got the nest like a home. And you've got sea at the background. And I think seagulls there. And I'm unsure if you get pelicans in France. I think they're only native to northern Britain. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong there. So, again, kind of focusing on the Rose Croix. On hearing that potentially on my doorstep there is a castle owned by the Knights Templar a few months ago, that caught my interest. On hearing Rose Cross or Croix pronounced Rose Croix, caught my interest even more. And that is for the simple fact that the castle in question is in a small village in Murrayshire, Nairnshire, called Brody. And it is indeed Brody, Brodie, Brody Castle. And it was owned. What's going on here? Why is it not bloody working? Typical Google bloody messing it up, man. There we go. So we're in Bonnie, Scotland. Okay, the new. And all that, right? So we'll get rid of that. We don't need that. What we need is to zoom in. Technology. So we're in Scotland. Now, I'm here in Elgin, or as the Yanks say, Elgin. The Germans call it Elgin as well, for some reason. It's bloody Elgin, man. Get it right. Don't offend us by saying Elgin. But there is an Elgin in America pronounced seemingly Elgin. But there you go. It's Elgin, right? There's only one Elgin, and that's here. Any other Elgin is a copycat. Of course, the history here is extensive. It goes all the way back to the beginning of bacteria. Honestly, it goes so far back. I kind of feel a wee bit blessed in a sense that I enjoy history and that I've got it in abundance right on around me, pretty much standing on top of it. So that makes me happy because I kind of get drawn into it. Similar to this situation with the, well, in particular Knights Templar, but also the Pictish people and the area of Murrayshire. Who were the Pictish people? What happened to the Knights Templar? We know not all of them died. We know that the Pope at the time pretty much let them off. Like, nope, it's okay, but they're closed down. But here, come this way. We'll look after you. Here, put this on, change your name. Away you go, sort of thing, right? And I'm hoping to maybe potentially shed a wee bit of light on this case in particular. So we're zooming into Murrayshire. Well, not quite Murray. This area here is Murrayshire. Sort of, maybe not Aberdeen, but that kind of size. And it even had its own king. So I'm here in little old Elgin. Blink and you will miss it, of course, right? I won't zoom in too much because you might actually see me. The big reveal. Oh, that was the church uptown, the St. Giles Church. I was actually went by there today. And we've got a few bits to mention on churches as well. I've got some photos, and there's a connection that I can't kick from my mind. It just won't go away. So I'm hoping we're going to get round to that as well. Quite interesting. Speculative to an extent, but not completely out there. Also. So here's Elgin, but we're going not east, west, right? So not far. I think you would be talking about a half an hour drive from where I am in the car. And of course, there's Brody Castle there. Right, we're gonna take a look at that. But remember, the way he pronounced, and some people pronounce the French cross is Croix. Now, here you've got Brody, but also, if you continue to go, oh, God's sake, if you continue to go slightly more west, you will also find, oh, for God's sake, I'm not going to find it now, right? Where did it go? Have I passed it? I think it might be more this way. Oh, it's typical that. I'm going to blame Google. Google's getting the blame, right? Where did it go? Right. King Steps. Which is also quite an interesting name. So you've got Brody Castle up here, right? Over here. But just beside that, there is also another village as well. And now I can't bloody see it. For some reason, it's not showing up when it's meant to. What we'll do is we'll type it in instead. Hope that it comes up. And the town is indeed Croix. Maybe not spelt Croix, but definitely pronounced and spelt Croix. And it is not even very far from Brody Castle, right? Which is here. Now, I have a slight suspicion that this town is named after Rose Croix. And I reckon it was the Knights Templar that done it. And I think they also potentially, if we go to Croix, you'll see here a parish church, very similar to what might be known as a common Templar church. And you'll notice as well, if we can go back. Bear with me here, right? Croix and Dalcross Parish, which is interesting and of note. Dalcross. Croix and Dalcross, which is also a location here. Dalcross. Now, Dal, D-A-L, is common in Gaelic Scotland, this sort of area, language-wise, but also in Hindu, which is also worth of note. Croix and Dal Cross. Now, there's no specific information on how Croix got its name. And I've asked someone local to Croix to maybe get me a bit more information on the area and its history. And there is another place called Cawdor, which has also got a castle. And some of you might remember, I did share a photo. I've not got it just now. I should have got it. from Codder Castle, where there's a crest for, I think it was Queen Elizabeth from the 1700s, and it's got 2 reptiles on it. I kid you not. It's here at the Codder Castle. You can see it. And I'm imagining that in the 17th century, there wasn't crocodiles running around or lizards, big lizards running around. Maybe there was, actually. What do I know, right? But I found it very fitting given the theory behind sort of reptilians and bloodlines, where you had a royal crest from the 1700s with 2 perfectly identifiable reptilians. But from what I could gather as well, on them were a collar around their neck, like a pet dog. And I thought that was interesting as well. I don't know if anybody's ever talked about it before. I had never came across it before, but again, it's one that we probably will go back to in the future, this Codder Castle. It's worth checking out if you've not visited it before. So Cross, Dal Cross, situated only miles from a castle that was known to be owned by the Knights Templar, and they probably owned the land that Croy is on. I can almost guarantee they did. Now, this castle here, there's the name there. It looks like Kilravok, but I think it's pronounced Killarrock. Killarrock is how it's pronounced, I'm sure. Killarrock. And this caught my eye, right? It's in Croy. And when you look at the history of it, it was owned, and I think still owned by Clan Rose. Clan Rose. Now, is that a coincidence? I don't think. Right? So the castle itself is, interesting. It's got a bit of history to it. Prince Charles there. Prince Charles Edward Stuart. He was there entertained 4 days before the Battle of Culloden, which again is not very far from these areas right here. Bannockburn, Culloden. Especially Culloden. Robert Burns even visited. Of course he did. Wee Rabbi, eh? Wee Rabbi Burns. Wee Jewish Rabbi. Of course he visited. I bet he did. I bet he did. So what they reckon is the Rose family is of Norman origin. They settled at Killarrock in 1293. Right. Now this is interesting. This is, again, worth of note in my view, because the castle had been continuously tenanted by the Rose family. So what, they built it then? They settled there in 1293, so just before the 13th century. Since which date son has succeeded father without the interposition of a collateral hire, an instance of direct descent unique in Scottish history. Huh. So that caught my eye. Quite unique, right? Protecting the bloodline there, I would say. So they go here with the Norman origin. We'll take that with a pinch of salt. Anything that gets said tonight, we take with a pinch of salt. So that is indeed the Rose family, who I do know from people locally to Croy, they are still a big influence in that area, still to this day. And also when it comes to, the dog agrees, when it comes to names of streets and places, that is also recognised with Rose or Cross. So we'll jump from there to where we know the Knights Templar were. So we only go a few miles east, closer to where I am, and we get to Brody. And in particular, the clan Brody. Yeah. Right. So Clan Brody is a Scottish clan whose origins are uncertain. The first known Brody chiefs were the Tains of Brody and Dyke in Murrayshire. The Brodies were present in several clan conflicts, and during the Civil War were ardent Covenanters. We'll go with that. They resisted involvement in the Jacobite uprising. Right. And the chief's family later prospered under the British Empire in colonial India. And that is worth, again, in my view, of note. At least one or two things in particular here. It is very rare for such a big clan with such an influence to have roots or origins unknown. But they do point to a fire at the castle that destroyed history. Fitting, right? So the origins seemingly are uncertain. Okay. That's the official narrative. So that, in my view, is the biggest red flag with Clan Brody. But another point of interest is the Jacobite uprising. I find it hard to believe there was no involvement there. And of course, the chief later in colonial India, did he fancy a holiday? Had he been to India before? Had people from India been here before? Surely not, right? So when it comes to the uncertainty, let me take this bloody jumper off. We're heating up now. We must be getting down to it. There we go. Will I need these? Maybe. So when it comes to origin, they're a bit uncertain, which is, I find that hard to buy. Okay, a fire, right? But did they not know their history to, again, rewrite it? Did they just let it go? Is that what we do when our history's gone? Ah, it's gone now forever. Unknown. A complete mystery. So I find that a bit strange and a hard pill to swallow, right? So origins of the name. Early references to Brody were written as Brochy, Brofy, Brophy, Broof, or Brode. Right. So not Brody then, or what it is today. But take your pick, right? So various meanings to the name Brody have been advanced, but given the Brody's uncertain origin and the varying ways Brody has been pronounced written, these remain but suppositions. Some of the suggestions that have been advanced as to the meaning of the name Brody are Gaelic for a little ridge, bugger, a brow, or a pierce pice. We'll go with that. A ditch or mire, from the Old Irish word broth. Muddy place, from the Gaelic word brofach. We'll go with that. And I'm Scottish. A point, a spot, or a level place of land, from the Gaelic word broda. Of Norman origin, the French dictionary de la Noblesse refers to a 13th century knight named Guy de Brophy, who married a daughter of the knight Emery de Gain from Lemousin, which is in where? Parlez-vous français? Now then. Now we're talking, right? That's the one that I would go with. Or originated from the Pict name Brooder or Broody or Bridie, from the Pictish king name Brody. So, now, I can see why there could be confusion regarding the origin. Because, of course, they point to a fire that destroyed their history. And it is indeed in a Pictish area. So I kind of lean towards the Brody family being an amalgamation of not just the Pict royal bloodline, but also of the Knights Templar, which is why they don't want the origin known. Now, if it is the case, history probably would not tell you that. But there's enough here to kind of draw that conclusion. Nothing concrete at the moment. But in my own personal view, we are now in territory that points to some form of amalgamation between either the French Knights Templar and the Pictish royalty, or the Knights Templar and who were already here, and the Pictish bloodline. And I think what they would have maybe done, if this is the case, is adapted one of these previous names to create what is now today known as Clan Brody. And when we talk about crests and logos and signs and symbols, well, some of you might remember in the Rose Cross or Rose Croix initiation, they talk about arrows in the hand. Remember? Arrows in the hand. They talk about the rope. Straight away in this crest here, which is not the main one that I want to point out, but you've definitely got the fist with the arrow, there's rope at the bottom. And who would want to take a guess as to what colour the rope would be? And it wouldn't be hard pushed to associate arrows with knights. Or would that be too much? It's not blue. Of course, it would be red and white, like the Knights Templar is red and white. But this one is not the one that caught my eye to begin with. It was this one. This is the one that really caught my eye. Because here, you've not only got the hand with the arrows, you've got a knight's helmet. An actual knight's helmet. You've got the shield with the red arrow on it. 3 blue stars. But furthermore to that, you've got 2 guys on each side who could potentially be Pictish, with the knight in the middle. Then forming the amalgamation of the Murrayshire Pictish bloodline and the Knights Templar, who had great power still, but were in some form of reset and needed to become something else. Now, unbelievably, the motto is unite. Like amalgamation, coming together. So I can't throw anything concrete at the moment, but I've got a feeling we could be going somewhere with it. And we might, I mean, I would personally like to talk to the Brody family themselves. And I think through that, even maybe talking to them, we would probably know either way. I find it hard to buy that these people don't know their origin. I mean, everybody kind of wants to know at some point in their life where they stem from. And in my own personal view, I reckon the Brody clan is an amalgamation of the Pictish royals and the Knights Templar. And it was their get out of jail card. To an extent. So yeah, I mean, I can't seem to get that. I can't seem to conclude anything else but that. I mean, it in my own mind it makes sense. Again, I've not got anything concrete at the moment, but we're going to be going places with this, I think, right? So early history, the lands of Brody were between Murrayshire and Nairnshire on the modern border that separates the Scottish Highlands and Murray. In the times of the Picts, this location was at the heart of the Kingdom of Moravia. Yay! Early references show, where am I? That the Brody lands to be governed by Toisha. We'll go with that. Later to become Tain. And if we have a look at that, why is it coming up, that guy? That must be something else, right? Part of the Brody lands. Why is it not working? Oh, for God's sake. Part of the Brody lands were originally Temple lands owned by the Order of the Knights Templar. It is uncertain if the Brodies took their name from the lands of Brody or that the lands were named after the clan. Or maybe it was something completely different. I mean, the word bro die, even is kind of caught my eye. And if you notice here with the tartan, it's spelt different, bro, D-Y-E. And again, going back to the town of Croy, is there a mistranslation there? I mean, the Croy one is, again, it would be, I don't know, I doubt very much any historians ever even said similar. So it could be way off the mark, but then again, we could be on to it. Because the Knights Templar didn't all die. They didn't just give up their power like that. They pretty much ran the world. You don't let that slip overnight. It doesn't happen. The times were a-changing, right? Of course, you couldn't be a knight riding horseback today. It would be out of place, right? You get me? Interesting tartan there as well. Brody hunting tartan, which is a cross, right? Even this one has got the cross. That could be just coincidence, but if that's the design, then again, that would be worth of note. Right, so we know the lands were. The Pictish were here, at least going by history. The Knights Templar were here. Question is, I guess, how did they get on? What did they become? So if we jump from here, right, I'll take you now again to sticking with the clan Brody. I want you to hear, first of all, this video, then one or two other short videos. Now, this is in relation to the Brody clan history. So we'll listen to that, then there's one or two more, then lots. So much to cover, so much to get into. But hey, we'll do it as quick as we can, as best as we can. So what I'll do is I'll mute me, which is always handy.
The Brody family is one of the most ancient and prominent families in Morayshire, Scotland. The family takes its name from the lands of Brody near Forres and lost most of its early charters and documents when the castle was burnt in 1645. The Brodies were certainly prominent among the local nobility, and the name appears throughout the 15th and 16th centuries in charters of the Diocese of Moray. The origins of the Brody family can be traced back to the 12th century, when they were settled along the Moray Firth. The family may have shared a common ancestry with the Morays and Innises, who were also settled in the area. The family name itself is derived from the Gaelic word brothaig, meaning ditch, which may have referred to the landscape of the area where they were settled. One theory about the family's ancestry suggests that they may even have Pictish origins, being descended from the royal family, who carried the name Bruder. While there is no certain proof of this claim, there is much evidence of Pictish settlement around Brody, and it must be considered as at least a reasonable explanation. The Brody family had several members who were involved in political and judicial affairs. Alexander Brody of Brody, born in 1617, was a vigorous supporter of the Reformed religion and attacked Elgin Cathedral in 1640. He was an able politician and resisted attempts to appoint him to judicial office under the Protectorate, although he finally accepted after Cromwell's death in 1658. This brought him royal disfavor after the Restoration, when he was fined for his actions. He died in 1679. In 1727, Alexander Brody of Brody was appointed Lord Lion, King of Arms. He was Leon during the Jacobite Rebellion of 1745 and attended on the Duke of Cumberland throughout his Scottish campaign. There are other distinguished branches of this family, including the Brodys of Leithen, and a distinguished family of English baronets who claim descent from the chiefly line. Sir Benjamin Collins Brody, whose family is believed to have left Banffshire to settle in England around 1740, was one of the most distinguished surgeons of his time and was president of the Royal Society. He was created a baronet in August 1834. Today, Brody of Brody still lives at Brody Castle, but in 1979 the present chief placed it in the care of the National Trust of Scotland. The castle and its grounds are open to the public and offer a glimpse into the rich history of the Brody family and their legacy in Scotland.
So, a bit more info on the Brody family. And of course, even not so long ago, one of their chiefs became the president of the Royal Society. And they don't hand that to any old fella. Put it that way. And I mean, that's kind of just the tip of it, to be fair. If we jump to sticking with Brody Castle, is it the Pictish stone? Why is it not working? Let me see. There is a Pictish stone at the castle. Here you can see. Now, why oh why? I think the initials there are KB. And they're unknown. But I'm taking a wild guess that it's Knight Brody. That would be my guess. I could be wrong. But if it is the case, then it could point to the Knights and the Pictish being more intertwined than people might know. There is a room in the castle called the Blue Sitting Room. The Blue, B-L-U-E, Sitting Room, right? And is this going to work? And it's hard to get footage of the castle inside, so I might have to get that myself. But what's going on here? Why is it terrible quality? Because it is terrible quality. Even though it was 2 years ago, maybe it was recorded in the 13th century. So, quite an interesting looking. I'm unsure if people are going to see it very well, but an interesting roof in the blue room. That I thought was kind of worth note. There's flowers here, like a rose maybe, or some kind of flower. I think it might be a rose, but there's also what looks like it could be wheat of some sort. But in bang in the middle, in my view, is a cross, similar to a Knights Templar cross. And of course, they owned the castle, so it wouldn't be a far cry, depending on when this was put in, of course. But if we take you to this video here, now remember what was being said about the initiations and what they had to do and where they had to go in order to get the degree of the Rose Cross, or Rose Croix, as I call it. Well, I'm going to call it that now anyway. It's Rose Croix, right? Remember what they were saying about secret this and secret that? Well, Brody Castle is all about that. All about it. All about it. So the secret location they talk about in the book, hidden, not hidden, bugger, what was it called again? Light on Masonry. They talked about a location that was used somewhere between the west and north of Scotland, which is where Brody Castle is. So in my view, this is where they're talking about. So let me mute me and then we'll play the video, right?
Century Tower House located in Moray, Scotland. The castle has a long and fascinating history, but one of its most intriguing features is the network of hidden rooms and passageways that are concealed within its walls. These secret spaces offer a glimpse into the castle's rich and complex past, and are a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of the people who built and lived in the castle. One of the most famous hidden rooms at Brody Castle is the priest's room, which is located in the upper reaches of the tower. The room is accessed via a narrow staircase, and its entrance is concealed behind a sliding panel. The priest's room is said to have been used by Catholic priests who were in hiding during the 16th and 17th centuries, when the practice of Catholicism was outlawed in Scotland. The room was designed to be completely soundproof, and its small size made it difficult for anyone to find. Another hidden room at Brody Castle is the Laird's Lug, which is a small space located in the wall of the Great Hall. The Laird's Lug was used by the Laird of Brody to eavesdrop on his guests, and was connected to the hall by a small hole in the wall. The Laird would sit in the lug and listen in on conversations, while remaining hidden from view. The castle also has a number of secret passageways that were used to move around the building unnoticed. One of the most famous of these is the Laird's Pass, which is a narrow corridor that runs from the Great Hall to the Laird's room. The pass was used by the Laird to move about the castle without being seen by his guests or servants. Another secret passageway at Brody Castle is the Chimney Passage, which is a narrow tunnel that runs from the castle's kitchen to the outside of the building. The passage was used by servants to dispose of rubbish and waste, and was also used as an escape route in times of danger. The hidden rooms and passageways at Brody Castle offer a fascinating glimpse into the castle's rich and complex history. They are a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of the people who built and lived in the castle, and are a reminder of the many challenges and dangers they faced. Today, Visitors to the castle can explore these secret spaces and imagine what life might have been like for the people who built and lived in this remarkable building.
So, yeah. So what they describe there in regards to secret passageways and secret rooms and secret the whole lot is pretty much what they described going back to the book on the documentation of all things Masonic. The whole lot. Even to the point where they talk about a wee door that you had to go through. And it sounds like it might have even been the Knights Templar who built Brody Castle. And they built it with many things in mind, including listening in on potentially the enemy or secret conversations, listening in to them, which I thought was quite funny. But also escape routes and different hideaways. And of course, going back to that period, seemingly they were hunted. But I doubt that very much, to be honest. I think they were too smart to be caught. So I'll take you now to... Where did we get to there? Ah, yeah. Now, going back to Roslin Chapel. Look at that beast there. Yikes. What even is that, man? And again, going back to what's been said, how they put these monsters and demons all about the place. Well, Roslin Chapel is definitely that. It is a creepy place. And if we look at some of the stuff here, that's the roof to it. I mean, it's staggering, really. I think you've got there the rose, star, and then more designs going along. And I mean, some people would be forgiven for thinking that's not in Scotland, is it? Well, yeah, it is. Here's an interesting one as well. And of course, we know the skull and bones is also used by the Knights Templar. It's one of their symbols. And we may expand on that as well. But the exterior is astonishing. I mean, look at it. It's like almost a bit like something you might find in Egypt or India, like a Hindu temple, maybe. Would that be too far of a cry? Now, this pillar here, the story goes, I'll show you what the story is here. While building the Roslin Chapel, the master mason went to Rome for inspiration. He entrusted his apprentice to follow his instructions until his return. Right, so you look after it till I get back, right? Yet, the apprentice was an ambitious young man. So he started changing the designs and created this pillar himself. Wow. What a pillar it is. Just this kind of random pillar sticking out. Again, worth note. And I think that may be a pelican on there. although I'm unsure. It looks like a bird. I'd need to get a better picture. But when you look at certain parts of it, you get the kind of Hindu temple-y feel to it. At least I do, right? So the guys built, the apprentice continued to build it. And if you thought this would impress the master mason, you're gravely mistaken. When the master mason saw that this pillar was far too beautiful to be one of his own creations, he was enraged by jealousy. He struck down the apprentice in rage and killed him. No one knows if this is fact or fiction, but there's some evidence supporting the story. Firstly, there's a carving of a young man with a mysterious cut on his forehead, possibly signifying the dead apprentice. And secondly, the history books tell us the chapel's construction was delayed at one point because of a violent deed. Who knows what this talented apprentice could have created if he continued his life? If it is true. So I guess the moral of the story there, don't outdo your master, right? Surely that's got to be the goal, but jealousy, yeah, not a good thing to have is jealousy. It would drive you insane, man, or put you in prison, killing your apprentice because he's a better crafter than you, a better mason than you. Ego, you could say. I don't know. How much weight would I put to that story? I think it could be true. But again, having this carving of a young man with a mysterious cut on his forehead, that's a bit creepy, that, right? It's a bit Knights Templar building-y. Curious carvings within Roslin Chapel. Yeah. Now, I kind of got the feeling that, I mean, this one looks like a cross. It looks a bit like the Knight's cross. Oh, bugger. Here. But it's even got a symbol inside it, which I think is some kind of maybe 8-pointed star, possibly, inside, or a flower inside. What is clearly, in my view, a Knights Templar cross. I mean, it screams Knights Templar. It's screaming it at people. Yet, seemingly, historians, at least two, claim that the theory of the Knights Templar building it is not true. I'll tell you what caught my eye with this bit. Is this kind of structure here. It looks like arrows, right? That's what I thought it looked like. Arrows. Ah, bugger. Going round, and then I think into an angel here. And on the window, that kind of looks a bit like a wolf or a fox, maybe. It's got like the head of a wolf on the window. This I kind of thought maybe the sun. I also kind of thought star, but I'm going to go with sun for the time being. And I think that's a wolf's head. Potentially a wolf in sheep's clothing, which would be also interesting. But I feel they're arrowheads going down. But they could also be some form of plant. It looks a bit like a leaf here. So is it some form of crop or plant? And I think these are figures around the edge, which you can't see very well, to be honest. But they appear to be figures of potentially different origin, possibly from different parts of the world, which again would throw up quite a lot of questions, right? Firstly, there's the apprentice pillar, the vine twirling, or the rope twirling around the pillar. That's at the core of the chapel in the very middle. Undeniably looks like the helix DNA structure. That's at the core of all life. Did the ancient architects know about the molecular DNA? Well, did they? I kind of think they did. If DNA is a thing. Then there's a carving of corn. Huh? This may sound like the most uninteresting thing within the mighty Roslin Chapel, but it's completely maddeningly mind-blowing because it looks exactly like a cob of corn. It's a corn on the cob. And this chapel predates Christopher Columbus's journey to America. How on earth did Scotland know about America's indigenous plant life? Anyone want to take a crack at that? How did they know? Surely they hadn't already discovered America? Surely not. That would be my guess. The Columbus story, nonsense. A cover story, if anything. I think most people know that anyway. Of course, that's what you learn at school, right? Yay, Christopher Columbus, we founded America. We started the new world. And there was no one there. Well, there was people there, but we pushed them out the way. And found this new world that we're going to create with our founding fathers of great people. Who were these founding fathers exactly? Whose idea was it to set it all up, to get it all going? We know about the Masonic connections with the founding fathers. The cornerstone! Yeah. So this one definitely caught my eye. They knew. Of course they knew. I get the feeling that people, even back then, travelled the world, the whole world. Not only that, people from across the sea came here. And I reckon there would have been fighting, but also I think there would have been relationships created. Some which we may not even know about. Well, why would we? What can we really believe when it comes to history? Written by the winner, hooray! What would you believe? It is indeed anyone's guess, right? So we'll jump away from the Roslin Chapel for a sec. We will kind of come back to it, but there you go there. And it is kind of eye-catching. And I want to point out, I don't know if you can see the arrow pointer, the Knights Templar arrow. But I'm pointing to these structures in particular, the top of the tower. they've caught my eye, right? And they've caught my eye before. Not just at Roslin, but here. And not just here, but elsewhere. Further afield, across the sea. And if you look at the chapel itself, it looks like there was more to it. They've some of it's been knocked down and may be replaced or rebuilt to a certain way. But there's clearly been some kind of destruction of some part of this temple. This strange, mysterious temple that's been in it's well known in the Hollywood world, if you like. Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code explored one of the strangest mysteries of Roslin Chapel, the conspiracy that connects it to the notorious Knights Templar. It depends on how deep you go. Right. But this theory can entangle the crucifix cross, the blood of Jesus, the head of Jesus, the Holy Grail, and the knights themselves. It's a grandiose story that's as intriguing as it is fun. So the tale would go in 1119. The Roman Catholic Church founded the Order of the Knights Templar. They were exempt from all local laws and answered only to the Pope. Their innovative banking systems throughout the Crusades gave them power over 1,000 fortifications, and they were always the first into battle. It's even said at the Battle of at the Battle of Montsard, we'll go with that, an army of 500 Templar soldiers defeated an army of 26,000. What? I mean, that's that's some defeat, that, right? If it's to be true, of course. Remember, we take it all with a big pinch of salt. During the Crusades, they acquired the remains, of the Solomon's Temple that's referenced in the Bible. It's not known what they found there. It could have been the Holy Grail or even the remains of Jesus. But whatever it was, it made them extraordinarily powerful. And I think that is a fact about the power that they had. But seemingly, it all came to an end. The Crusades came to an end in the 13th century because the Islamic armies became more united, while communication issues pervaded the Christian factions. The end of this war gave the Templars less purpose. However, after 200 years of interrogation, they still had power and authority in towns throughout Europe. They definitely did that. So, let's see this bit as well. But legend says many of the Templars escaped to Scotland with the treasure from Solomon's Temple. It was a safe place to hide. Yeah, they're good at hiding, right? They weren't outlawed there, and they owned land. Yeah, lucky that, right? One of their properties was only 9 miles from Roslin Chapel. There are many theories that support this idea. The St. Clair family had ties with the Templars. Robert the Bruce fought with them. The chapel has a hidden chamber, and there are Templar symbols within the chapel. Yeah. Add to that Brody Castle, right? But they don't seem to give much mention to Brody Castle, which is again why even some historians themselves don't even know. So I'll take you now to, again, it does mention, if you go to the Wikipedia of the Knights Templar in Scotland, it talks about mainly King David. They met King David. Order was established. The order established a seat at Ballindarrach, now Temple Midlothian, on the southeast river, on the South Esk River even. In 1189, Alan Fitzwalter, the second Lord High Steward of Scotland, was a benefactor of the order. Then again, it talks about Aberdeenshire, the River Dee, and then you get a small mention here about their ties to Nairn and Murrayshire. Nothing said whatsoever about the town Croy, which in my view is a town that was made by the Knights Templar. And I could be wrong, but if I'm right, we could potentially be treading new ground tonight for the first time ever. But we will continue to an extent. I mean, the land and the power that they had here was substantial, considerable possessions. They were the big name, if you like. Not just in the south of Scotland, but the north of Scotland, even in the Kingdom of Murray. So we'll jump now. I want to take you to maybe not that one just yet. We'll go back to the slides for the time being, right? So remove and then add. What one did I get to? Oh, yeah. So, again, going back to the Picts, right? Who, in my view, amalgamated with the Knights Templar to create pretty much the new breed. So, like we had mentioned at the start, Pict comes from the Roman name Picti, meaning painted people. Huh? Painted people in the northeast of Scotland? Racism. But maybe not quite like that. Or maybe it is like that. So they reckon Pict means painted people. Now, one of the very earliest images of a Pict warrior is this image here. And you'll find it at the British Museum. Now, don't look too close. You might see something that you don't want to see. But this guy is painted blue, head to toe, in mythical creatures, an owl some kind of lion or wolf or fox on his shoulder. His sword, in my view, looks like a Hindu sword of Indian origin. That's what I think when I look at the sword that he's got. And these guys were barbaric to a savage, very savage extent. They would put their heads of their enemy on sticks and dot them around any encampment they had as a warning, as a warning to anybody who got the wrong or thought they were maybe the big man, right? But look at this guy, man. Look at him. He's painted blue. Why is he painted blue? Also, look at the hair. Look at the moustache that he's got. Who's the head? The head of who exactly? Of what? What race? What clan? What creed? And was there lions in Scotland? There's not lions here today. There's definitely not lions in the the northeast of Scotland. But what I would be interested to know what people think about when they look at this guy, without looking at the his wee man, right? But I've kind of zoomed in a wee bit more to let people see a bit better. I mean, it's an interesting design, right? It's really intriguing. He's got like a snake on his arm. On pretty much each arm. And what I can only describe as a fox-like being on his shoulder. While in... Why can I not see it? While on his stomach, I mean, I don't even know what that is. What is it? It's a new creature. It would probably be described as a Pictish beast. But it kind of looks like some form of ape. And I don't think there was any apes in Scotland. But again, I could be wrong, right? And if you look very closely at the shield, at the bracket, there's a flower on the bracket. You can see it. It's quite small, but you can see it. It's there, almost hidden, almost a hidden symbol within a symbol. And they do that, most definitely. So you've got the owl, and the owl looks like it's had a bit too much to drink. In fact, they all do. They all look like they've been on the LSD. And I mean, the monkey guy, is it a lion? Is it a monkey? Is it a human? Is it all three put together? It's kind of got the nose of a lion, the teeth of a man, and the head of a weird Bigfoot ape. And on his, sort of around his nipple area, it's almost like a star or the sun. I'm unsure what I'd go with, but I think it's a star. So that I found very intriguing. And this dates back to, I believe, the 18th, early 18th century. You can find it at on the British Museum website. Now, when you look at the guy's legs, he's got scales on his legs. What would people think that might represent? Traveling the water, a bit like a fish? What would be the need? Maybe it made him swim faster. Yeah, you draw some scales on, whew, away you go. But on his knees, I mean, that is definitely more like a lion, right? Albeit a very strange kind of mythical one. And I found that very intriguing. Now, another more common Pictish warrior image is again of a guy in blue, painted blue, with a similar kind of moustache. You can't quite see the same detail, but again, he's got a sword that you would probably find in the Middle East. And again, he's got the star on both of his around his nipple and his belly button, which also I found quite interesting. It's either a star or the sun. And if we zoom in a bit, you can see it a bit better. And his leg this time a bit different. What would people say is on his legs? I kind of think it's a snake, but it almost looks like what's it called again? It's bloody on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember. It's a symbol that's used by Big Pharma. I can't remember now. Someone's bound to know. Are we still going? We're still going. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why the owl's got cross eyes. I mean, that's probably of some sort of representation. But I'm unsure. Kind of looks like a snake to me. But maybe it's some form of rope or similar. I mean, I couldn't rule anything out. But one of the first things that caught my eye in regards to these people being blue is the Hindu goddesses that they talk about. Of course, they're blue, right? And as soon as going back to when I first looked at the Pictish photos, it was the first thing that stood out in my mind. It looks like a Hindu god. And this again is one of the earliest Hindu, I can't remember the name, Vashian, I'm unsure of the name. But interestingly enough, you've got what would appear to be is it a deity, a god, a goddess, a Hindu god, traveling on the sea or by sea on some kind of boat or flower, wearing a crown with what could be some form of half crescent on the top, crescent moon possibly. A circular instrument in one hand, which is again interesting, but on his other hand, or one of his other hands, because he's got four, is this rod or staff, which will be very familiar to many people, even today. And I think there's one here. Again, this is quite an ancient one. I think from the 1800s. And again, the designs caught my eye. The kind of lion-y, dragon-y creature caught my eye in particular. At the very top of at least this particular image. Now, this one here, again, caught my eye because, and I've enlarged it at the side, you've got the Hindu god in the middle, then all around it, like a Hindu god, but in a different place or a different world. And in that one, it looks a bit like a knight. And they also appear to have a white face, almost ghost-like. And I'm unsure as to what the background to this is. I know the artist was from the 18th, lived through the end of the 18th to the 19th century. But I would be interested to know a wee bit more about the background to it, what it's meant to represent. I doubt very much they know what it truly represents, but it caught my eye. Now, I'm going to take you here to this place that I'm in right now, Elgin. And this building here it's an ancient building in Elgin. And it used to be part of an imperial college for art and science. And that is now notably more recognized as being in London, not here. But a long time ago, it clearly was here. And I was at the building this very morning. Now, some of you might have picked up already that there is indeed a very similar rod or staff to what we just seen in the why is it not going back? In his hand, in his third hand. I mean, it's almost a carbon copy. There it is there. And that caught my eye. Now I want to take you to this church here. Can people see that okay? I'm going to have to double check we're still going. I've got issues with my second screen, which is typical, right? Why is it that anytime you want something to work, nope, it won't work, guaranteed. Yeah, we're good. We're going. Great. Yeah, yeah. Can you see? Yeah, yeah. Okay. All good. Thanks, Hasdak and Wendy. All good in the hood. I was just checking because of I don't think you can quite see it in the photo, but we'll come back to that point. But again, now remember when I showed you the Roslin Chapel, remember the cones on the structure of the building that I pointed out? The very same cones that are on this church building here in Elgin. The very same, the exact same. And it is again these statue structures that stand out in my mind, and I cannot kick the similarity between these structures and the Hindu temple or temples. Now, when I was out taking these photos of these buildings, there's a few more. There was actually a guy outside this church here, and he invited me along on Sunday. And what they do is they have a group called what was it called again? For people who don't do church to go to church. And they seemingly on Sunday, the priest is answering two questions. What were they again? One of them was, is religion not the problem? No, is religion not responsible for our problems? The other one is, are religious people hypocrites? And obviously that's two questions that someone had asked. And he was an American guy. He was weeding. So I went over to speak to him. If you're doing your garden or anything plant-wise, I'm going to be there talking to you. Guaranteed. So I went over to see the guy and we started talking. And he was an American guy from Missouri. And he's over here for a bit now, but I might go along. I might go along because I kind of want to get inside anyway. So it was my kind of card to get in, right? It's my get in card. So I can go in and get a bit more of a look because it's an interesting church. But again, it's got certain structures to it that catch my eye. In particular, these, I'm going to call them cones for the time being, some kind of cone. Now, when I did ask the guy, I said, look, I said, can you see them up there, the structures up there? Was it this church or the next one? It's one or the other. He said, yeah. And I said, what is it? What is it? And he was like, I don't know. I think it might be a pineapple. And I thought, right. And I said, to me, it looks a bit more like a cone or some sort of conifer cone from a conifer tree. That's the sort of thing in my mind when I see this structure, and it's dotted everywhere in Scotland. And any time I've ever went by or looked at it, I always think that it looks exactly like the ancient Hindu temples. But surely it cannot be that, or can it? Now, I certainly don't think it's a pineapple. If it is a pineapple, that would even add even more questions to it to an extent, because pineapples don't grow in Scotland. Well, not here, there, and everywhere, unless you've got the perfect greenhouse conditions to grow a pineapple tree. You wouldn't see it in Scotland. There's no connection between churches, Scotland, and pineapples, not that I know of. Most people in Scotland have never even seen a pineapple. I shouldn't say that, right? But there you go. So I don't know. Does anybody else think pineapple? I was quite surprised when he said that. I thought, were you looking at the same thing? But he was a good guy. We got on quite well. So I might go back and see him. I can't see anybody thinking it looks like a pineapple, though. Is there anybody who does? Let me see. Pineapple, lol. Yeah, I can't see it. I mean, how could it be? It's more like some form of cone, right? Yeah, conifers are definitely ancient trees, them. Most definitely ancient. I mean, there is some here, and they are beautiful. There's one, it's the Galacto. I can't remember its exact name, but it's like a light blue in color, and it is a beautiful tree. Truly amazing tree. But there's another one, a sweeping conifer, and it is a tree that I absolutely love. And there's one here in Elgin, and I think it's great. Pineal gland, I think people have pointed to that because, again, this is a similar structure that is pretty much known right across the world. And it's been here in Scotland for a very long time. So there you can get a bit of a closer view. I've kind of zoomed in a wee bit. And yeah, I can't kick the temple kind of feel to it. Now this is the church where I spoke to the guy. There he is there. You can see him sitting down, right? Oh, my brother Donny in the hood. Good to see Donny. You should be in your bed, right? At this time. My wee brother, Donny. Good to see you. Hope you're okay. I'll get a chat with you tomorrow, right? So again, another church, pretty much only a stone throw away. Again, with the exact same cone at the top. pretty much a carbon copy to an extent. And there's the guy doing the weeding. And I thought, yeah, I'll go over and see how he's getting on. Maybe he'll ask me to give him a hand, right? But yeah, a thankless task when you're weeding. Oh, man. So I spoke to him, and yeah, this is the one where I might go to on Sunday and get in and get a wee nose about, right? So that could be quite interesting. Maybe I can update you if I can get along on how it goes. But again, and you've got symbols here that scream Knights Templar. It screams it. And even the building itself. There's it zoomed in again. Not very great, that one. I had to try and brighten it up. But this one, I mean, I wish I could get a drone and get right close to it, because there appeared to be some kind of Masonic symbol or like an all-seeing eye. So I'm gonna. I actually know a guy who's got a drone, and I might say to him, "Look, sounds a bit weird, but is there any way you can get some footage of two churches in particular and the structures at the top of the tower?" I think this one's broken, right? At the top, you can see it's kind of jagged. But here, I don't know if you can see the arrow. I don't think you can. But you might maybe just see Filament Live. Well, I guess I could maybe ask about that. I don't know if many people would be interested, but it interested me. I feel like I've got a call in to hear what they've got to say, and it gives me a chance to check out the castle, right? Yeah, I think you might just be able to see what I'm trying to say, that there's some form of symbol there, but I couldn't quite make it out. I couldn't quite make it out. But of course, this is what in my mind I always think of anytime I seen or walk by the cones or the church. I think it looks like one of these. And this is one of the most ancient places of worship, Hindu places of worship. So not in Scotland then, right? But even in the middle of these rings similar to, again, going back to the Roslin Chapel, you can see someone standing there. So it gives you an idea. Quite a small doorway to a secret compartment, maybe? So here we've got Roslin Chapel. And I mean, if that's not Knights Templar, nothing is Knights Templar. I mean, look at it, man. And you've got, if you notice here, you've got the big cross in the middle with the circle, right? Which is similar to being, it's either like a rope going around it. And you can see here at can you see the pointer? Oh, no, you can't see it, can you? But you can see again another cone at the right-hand side, I believe. Again, very similar to the ones in Elgin. Did these Templars actually build these churches that are in Elgin under a different name? Like, I don't know, the Brody clan? You'll see you've got different gods or goddesses, I'm unsure. But I would say they're standing on pillars, albeit you can only see the top of the pillar. And again, you've got what is like a pyramid, more of a pyramid structure. And on the top of the one, at the very top of one of them, is what looks a bit like an acorn. you might not be able to make it out, but you can definitely see where there appears to be destruction here. This is not the whole picture. No way. No way is it. Either that or they never completed it. In this whole bit here, even though it screams Knights Templar, it would appear to be newer or later than the demolished part of it, which I find very interesting. I mean, talk about bloody mysterious, right? And there again, you can see, I mean, there's numerous different ones here. And when I see this, again, I kind of think of the numerous Hindu structures that are very similar. I mean, that's not a great photo, so you can't really see it. Terrible. But again, there you can see a part of it has been taken down. Maybe they destroyed it in a fire, right? I think they could be good at that. So that one, yeah, is Roslin Chapel. And again, the inside of it is, I mean, it's beautiful, right? It's kind of the only way I can describe it. It's kind of breathtaking. Awe. You're in awe at it. And not many people can describe what it means, or any of it means, excuse me. So Roslin Chapel is one of the most famous religious sites of Scotland, made even more famous in the past few years due to the Da Vinci Code novel by Dan Brown and the movie with Tom Hanks, of course. Of course, Tom Hanks. Yeah, I mean, yep. That's not a surprise, that, right? Legend has it that underneath the chapel, buried behind a stone wall and set back from the detailed wall carvings, is a Spartan stone crypt. Buried even deeper is said to be the treasure of the Knights Templar. There is no solid evidence that suggests the Holy Grail is or ever was present at Roslin Chapel. But what I can add to that is that they had been digging seemingly underneath, but they did bring out a law to stop it. And I thought that was interesting. Why stop it? Why say nope, there'll be no more of that there? Did they find it? What was the treasure? Was it the Holy Grail? Was it the bones of Jesus himself? Whatever it was, it seemingly gave these entities an enormous amount of power. The power to pretty much control the world. So I'll take you now. We'll go back to. We're getting there. We are getting there. We'll go back to screen share. Add to stream. Where's my coffee? Oh, it's going cold, man. We've almost went 3 hours. My wife's gonna go mental. Ah, man. But we've got through a good part of it at least. Now, where did we get to here? There's an article here, The Secret Beginnings of the Knights Templar. And in this article, this guy basically, in short, says the Knights Templar, it never started in Jerusalem or France. It actually began in Scotland. Now, I don't know. So that could add more weight to that theory in regards to the beginnings of the Brody, the clan Brody, which in my view is an amalgamation of the Pictish royals and the escaped Knights Templar. But this one's quite interesting as well. The Knights Templar did not begin in Jerusalem. I always struggle to say Jerusalem. I don't know why that is, right? But there you go. Nor did they begin in 1118. In 1114, 4 years earlier, the bishops of Chartres, we'll go with that, in France wrote about the Knights Templar as the inner circle of the Knights Templar began in Scotland and France. What, at the same time? There is much confusion about the Knights Templar due to the cowardly attacks on Friday the 13th by French troops at Papal mercenaries. Many lies and complete distortions of facts were devised by the French king and Italian pope to justify their horrific actions. The so-called Knights Templar information released in French courts was obtained under extreme torture. Captured knights were tortured for years in order to obtain confessions. After years of torture, anyone will admit anything. The Knights Templar began in Scotland with the DNA ancestral memory activations of a Davidic lineage descendant by the Scots of the Covenant in the early years of the 12th century AD. In the 6th century BC, a Tamar of the Davidic lineage buried the Ark of the Covenant and fled to Jerusalem before Nebuchadnezzar, we'll go with Nezar, before Nezar and the Babylonians captured the city. This Tamar was the daughter of the king, and she, together with the biblical prophet Jeremiah, took one of the stones from the Ark of the Covenant and fled to Ireland. Tamar, in time, married an Irish king, and later their Celtic descendants migrated to Scotland to intermarry with the Picts. The Picts had originally migrated to Scotland from India, and thus their bloodlines contained the DNA ancestral memories of India's ancient, quote, blue race, close quote. Okay. Oh. So, interesting that, right? Ancient blue race. Why is this not bloody working? When I'm trying to hurry up. Oh, for God's sake, man, give me strength. Honest to God. In the late 11th century, the DNA bloodlines of the Davidic lineage, Irish Tamar, and blue race lineage Picts merged with the DNA from the two Davidic lineage Tamars of Gaul. And so it was that a royal male Scot was born containing 3 unique strains of DNA ancestral memories. The Scot was shown the stone from the covenant, also known as the, quote, Rock of Israel, close quote. While a child by his mother and father, the young Scot's mother and father were of the pure Davidic lineage. The heredity guardians of the stone of the Ark of the Covenant. The location of the stone of the covenant is and always was kept secret. The boy was forbidden to enter the secret and sacred chamber that contained the stone, except when accompanied by at least one of his parents. However, the stone from the ark so fascinated the boy that several times he was severely punished for secretly visiting the stone by himself. A typical kid then, right? If this is to be the case, of course. So, to continue with it, bloody interesting one, this. One day his father was in such a bad mood that even his wife, normally above his moods, was even moving quietly around the castle to give him a lot of space. Hey, we can vouch for that, right? Known for having a fierce temper, everyone was giving him space, as no one wanted to give him any reason for him to vent his anger at them. And so it was in this foul mood that the father discovered his son had disobeyed him again and was visiting the stone by himself. The father's angry roar of his son's name caused even battle-hardened elite soldiers and knights to wince. His wife came running after hearing her husband roar out their son's name several more times, and the crashing of a door opened in fury. There was dead silence throughout the castle. Fearing the worst, she rushed out into the doorway, muffled a cry with her hand, burst into tears, and quickly knelt beside her husband, who was already kneeling on the floor in prayer. At the far side of the room, unaware of his parents, stood their son, holding up the stone of the Ark of the Covenant. His hair was flared out in an electromagnetic energy display. The light was shining from the symbols and had been carved into the stone of the covenant by Jeremiah, Moses, Anknut, we'll go with that, and others. Periodically, the DNA ancestral memory of two or more separate lineages are combined to create a unique physical body that is a living library of the ancestral memory of spiritual lineage. Thus, like Jesus, as the young Scot held up the stone of the covenant, the symbol lit up in an electromagnetic charged display as the DNA ancestral memory retrieval process unfolded to the young Scot. And so it was that the founder and first member of the Knights Templar awakened. Dun, dun, dun. So that is a bloody interesting one, that. Again, we take it with a pinch of salt, and we certainly listen to what's being said. But I found it very, very interesting. And it will be one that we come back to, right? So again, I'll take you to Elgin Cathedral. And in my own view, the Knights Templar built it. They built the cathedral. And I think here you've got the cross, which is in what they call the Holy Trinity of the three triangles of the Son, the Father, and I think the Holy Spirit. You've got this oval shaped here, and the opening, the entrance. I kind of feel that represents maybe a female. Although I could be wrong, maybe there's something missing from this. But even this, the layering, and then the two sections here with the oval section, this all has meaning to it. Guaranteed. I can guarantee you. Similar to the Holy Trinity has got meaning to it. And if we look at the inside of the cathedral, you've got this gigantic pillar, like the apprentice pillar almost, in the middle, which reaches out into a ceiling, which is created in an 8-pointed star. And it is a staggering bit of architecture. When you go in it, you can feel a presence when you're there. It's hard to describe. People get married there quite a lot. But it's a staggering, beautiful place. It's a pity that it got burnt down by the Wolf of Badenoch, but you can still see quite a lot of it. And look at the windows as well. Look at the cross there. Look at what appears to be wheat or a flower in the middle window. Then in the window at the left, it's like a wheel almost, like a tire of a car, which is again linked back to not only the knights but the Picts, and you'll see that in a lot of Pictish carvings. Can we go there? I think we're still at the cathedral. A 3D view of it. It doesn't. These gravestones. I think there's even one in here. You can see the pillars in the middle of the room. Is it here? There's one of these gravestones that caught my eye even when I was looking today. Is it that one? I think there could be knights buried here. And I think there's going to be symbols on the grave that can give it away. They're not going to write Knights Templar on it. They wouldn't have been able to. But there would have been signs and symbols that pointed to them being a knight, similar to, oh, bugger. What happened there? For God's sake. I just found it as well. Flipping heck. Honestly. You might have seen it. There was a skull and bones. And the skull and bones, a lot of people associate it with the skull and bones of America. The fraternity, the secret society of the Skull and Bones, George Bush and all that. But even before pirates, I think it was the Knights Templar who used it. A skull and bones on a black background. You'll find that and if I've got time, I'll show you. But there you go. Look, you've got a skull there, then you've got the crossed bones, and you've got a Masonic logo there. The compass. Most definitely. And I'll go to visit this and I'll get a better photo of it. But that, in my view, points to that grave being of a Knights Templar. And it's inside this hall, which I reckon was built by the Knights Templar. So I'll take you quickly because I'm bloody cutting it fine now. And there was still more. Some of the known Templar logos, like I said. A lot of people, I mean, we know a thing or two about it. But the Baphomet is here. It's the first one there. Personally, I've not seen it used that much by them. But again, we'll take this with a pinch of salt. The Templar white cloak. I'm unsure. I think I maybe have seen it actually, even in buildings here. The shield, yep. The cross with the thorns, most definitely. But there you go there. That's the one with the skull and then the bones behind it. And it says there... Oh, bugger. What the hell? I can't get rid of that. Oh, there it's gone now. The skull and crossbones became one of the domains of the Knights Templar and were used during the trials of the Templars. The skull and crossbones are believed to be related to Masons, and in the past, this symbol was used on Masonic burials. Yeah, like the one we just seen in Elgin Cathedral. I want to show you now another quite an extreme one. Now, the history will tell you, yeah, Columbus discovered America. Hooray! Well, this guy says different. Did Scotland and the Knights Templar influence the founding of America and the design of America's Great Seal? Huh? A world exclusive interview with Gary Giannetti, February the 22nd, 2015. Now, of course, what they're pointing to here is the seal in particular, one of the coins or buttons, I think. So, the official version of who designed and executed America's Great Seal has been that 3 committees submitted designs, and ultimately the final designs were arranged by Charles Thompson and William Barton. Their designs were officially approved by Congress on June 20th, 1782. Dr. Bob, right, has always accepted this conclusion. Gary Giannetti has been working for years to document that Robert Scott, the engraver of the first die, was the actual man in charge of the final design. Giannetti presents his genealogical research that raises questions about how the Scots family is directly associated by marriage to the families of the Knights Templar. According to his theory, Robert Scott did not come to America to win the respect of the founding fathers in an attempt to get a job making the United States seals. Instead, Scott was trained and sent to the United States to do the job as part of a secret influence of these families called the, quote, unknown superiors, close quote. These were secret Jacobites exiled from Scotland. And Giannetti asks the crucial question of what role did Scotland and the Templars play in the founding of America and the design of America's Great Seal? Wow. Shock horror. Interesting that, right? Now, even this... get rid of this. This seal, I find it very strange. Very strange. And I mean, it almost kind of looks Hindu. to me. And I kind of think that what is it even? Is there legs of a frog? Is that a Masonic compass, maybe? And for some reason as well, I can't help but think of the Shiva god. For some reason, that comes into my mind. But you can see like some form of plant, and then you've got it looks like arrows, right? It looks like a knight's arrow or many arrows. But this one is interesting. But what the guy also points to, and I'm trying to speed up, is this one here. Now, we talk about symbols within symbols, within symbols, within symbols, and we've kind of got that here. As you can see, there's engravements that can hardly be seen. You would have to magnify it to a great extent. And seemingly that's quite an ancient technique as well, which was news to me, but there you go. They've seemingly found magnifying equipment to carry out such a engravement. But do you know what the guy points to? If you read, where is it? This seal is smaller than a half dollar coin and contains a near microscopic size scale, anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 symbols everywhere on the seal. Yikes. So, I mean, what chance do we have, right? You think you're looking at something, but you're looking at something completely different. But little do you know. Perception, I guess. Knowledge. In the flat section that is not the relief, you can see an uneven surface made up of 3 symbols done by needle piercing under lenses that can see up to 0.008 lenses. Lenses have been found that date back to 2,500 years ago that have the same magnification. Yikes. This art was done in the same fashion by the ancient Scythian people, which is kind of where they think the Pictish came from, although that's not set in stone either. The Scythian people who settled in the UK and Europe. What I have just told you can be referenced and confirmed by William Neyberg, who is the member of the Bibliomonia Society. We'll go with that. William is the leading authority of Robert Scott doing this art in US coins and early US mint. And I mean, it's the flower in the middle, or are we going to call it a star? The one around this side looks again to me like a cross. This photo is said to be a George Washington spy button. It was recently acquired by Robert Silverstein. These buttons were worn by Washington spies who would be allowed to walk into camp and see Washington directly with no hesitation because they wore these buttons. Whether these are true spy buttons is not fully proven. The symbol on the button depicts the 8-pointed star. When he designed this button, Robert Scott used this symbol, as was done from the ancients of the Scottish Pictish kings. This links it back to the Crinian, the Thane of Dunkeld lines of the kings, and connects George Washington with the bloodline history of Cospatrick of Dunbar, the son of Maldred, we'll go with that, and grandson of Crinan, the Thane of Dunkeld. Now, that might possibly mean nothing to people, but it kinda does mean stuff. And again, we take it with a pinch of salt. We're not going to be proving anything quite yet. But the pointed 8-pointed star, the flower, is definitely one that gets used by the Pictish. But it's also common again in the kind of Middle East. But even more to that elsewhere, right? So I thought that was quite interesting, and we potentially could come back to that. I mean, what is he trying to say? That the Knights Templar invented America? Would that be a turn for the books? Probably not. It certainly would not surprise me if the founding fathers were actually descendants or even direct relatives from the early Knights Templar. Now, if we go to, I want to take you quickly before we wrap up to this article here. Now, this is seemingly a Jewish gravestone of three well-respected rabbis in the 18th century. It's in Morocco. Morocco. Now, I mean, it looks to me like a Pictish stone. That's what it looks like to me. But you'll notice here, almost a carbon copy there of the same flower or pointed star there on this seemingly Jewish grave in Morocco that got discovered. Now, they put the name as, but I'm unsure if it had names. Symbols were meant to give away the name, going by this. The tradition was not to record names, but people would remember, obviously, right? But I think they do have a name there. R. Jacob Ben Isaac, 1865. And that caught my eye. But again, this looks to me like a Pictish stone. And not only that, a stone that is not from Morocco, but from Scotland. And it does mention here that sometimes the tombstones were hand carved, and sometimes the stones were brought from Europe. Yeah, I bet they were. From Scotland. Now, if you've never seen a Pictish stone, then I'll show you quickly an example, or a few examples anyway. Here's one here. Got the cross. Snakes of some sort, dragons maybe, in Scotland, in Murray. Maybe there was, right? There's another one there. I can't see it that great. Again, looking at the symbols, which there's a lot of theory behind most of them, but nothing's set in concrete or stone. So it can be hard to get to the bottom of it. The one, the Z rod or Z rod, double disc and Z rod, there's a lot of different, it's this, it means that, it means this, it means that. No one knows exactly what it means. The one that's a comb and a mirror, they reckon symbolizes a female. But I would be dubious if it's even a comb and a mirror. I mean, how do they know it's a mirror? I get that it looks a bit like a comb, but I just kind of think it's probably something else. But they reckon it's maybe to represent a female. Um, there's this one here is a cracker. It's got the Z rod, which I think is like a broken arrow, or the combination of maybe three arrows, three bloodlines, maybe united. And then you've got the snake. Now, I think you would have got grass snakes in Scotland, but nothing big or major. Not that I know of. So it's interesting there's a big snake on it, right? That one is like a mythical creature, which in my view kind of looks like a seahorse or a dragon. It's one that caught my eye. That one's quite, yeah, I mean, that again says to me maybe Hindu, a Hindu symbol, the circular one. It's a staggering engravement, that. Beautiful. There's one there on horses, possibly hunting. They reckon the comb in the mirror here represents a female hunting. This is an interesting one, the triple disc. Again, a lot of people point to, well, summer, winter, this, that. Again, I wouldn't put any weight behind it. And I doubt very much any of the assumptions as to what it is are correct. So that gives you an idea of Pictish carvings as well. This one they talk about is I can't remember, some form of instrument or peg. Then you can clearly see a hammer. But this kind of stood out in my mind as being more of a pillar, some kind of pillar, or even some kind of temple with a doorway here, a gigantic doorway. I mean, I'm struggling to see even why they would carve a hammer. I mean, surely hammers are going to be about forever, right? Was it to signify the destruction of whatever this in the middle is? Or the creation of it? I'm unsure. That one looks a bit Masonic as well. Again, you've got the hammer. What would appear to be maybe a bucket? A grave, maybe? Very interesting. Some of these stones I've been to visit. I used to cut a lot of historic grounds for Historic Scotland. That's the one with the mythical beast. I'm sure I've been to that one. You can't see it very well. And what would appear to be a fish, maybe? A salmon? So you've got the mythical beast and then a salmon. I mean, what would that represent? What were they trying to say? Again, that one there, you can see the snake. This is the Newton stone, ancient as well. On this one, you've got, I mean, what kind of writing is that? Is it Latin? Is it Hindu? And what is with the lines on it? The guy was doing time, right? Day 1, day 2. Yeah, maybe it was. But it looks Arabic or Hindu. That actually looks like a swastika there in the middle. This is a Pictish stone. I mean, it's staggering. It really is. It blows my mind, some of this stuff. Honestly. I kind of want to discover a Pictish stone and throw it at Bill Gates, right? So that gives you an idea of some of the Pictish carvings, which again, going back to the Jewish grave that's in Morocco, you can see why maybe you could maybe think Pictish, and it is like a granite stone from Scotland. You can't see the top very well. There would appear to be maybe even something missing, some kind of pillar in the middle of what appears to be a circle here, like a wheel. Then as you go down, you've got what in my view is an exact copy of what you see on the spy button here, which goes back to the founding fathers of America. So I guess when Morocco had a Jewish community, it would appear that they've managed to get quite about the Jewish community, because they're I mean, what is this one again? Yeah. Andrew Johnson, US President, 1869. Knights Templar uniform. And of course, yeah, the belt would be purple. Of course it would. How did they get colour on it? But of course he's a Knights Templar. Oh, but they never founded America, right? Nah, because it was Columbus that done it. The belt, the glove. I wonder if it's the women's glove. I wonder if that's when he was the Rosy Cross degree for the Knights Templar, or the Rosy Croix. Now, there's a book here that we will get into. When Scotland was Jewish. DNA evidence, archaeology, analysis of migrations, and public family records show 12th century Semitic roots. Huh. I wonder if the Knights Templar are in here. You bet they are. Oh, yes. And lots more. Much, much more. In fact, this book is probably going to have to be alive on its own, which will be probably twice as long as this one. But that kind of, for the time being, that kind of concludes where I'm at for the time being. At least in relation to this. The Knights, the Picts, and Murrayshire. But this is not the end of it. Far from it. In fact, this will be the beginning. And whatever it is that we're going to dig out, we're going to dig it out. And we'll take it from there. Wherever that takes us, God only knows, right? But this book, has anybody read it? When Scotland was Jewish? What? Elizabeth Caldwell Hirschman and Donald N. Yates. Interesting. Jefferson, North Carolina, and London. What kind of logo is that? Oh, it's a lantern. Shining the light, eh? It's quite a big book, a long book, but there is we are going to be getting back to it as my second screen passed away. Just in time, right? So I'm kind of hoping that was a wee bit different for folk. Not not quite our average geoengineering stream or catch update, maybe. What did people make of that? Am I still on the screen? We've missed quite a bit of comments. That'll do. Bugger it. Let me jump into the comments. I'm gonna have to kind of speed it up. Why is it not bloody working? We've went into the next day, man. So that was yeah, I don't know what people are gonna make of it. To be fair. Let me get rid of this. That was quite a few different bits and pieces that we went through there. Of course, yeah, people can take what they can from it. Draw your own conclusions. But it's really interesting. The connection to India, I find really strange. Well, maybe not strange, but I feel like there's more to it that I kind of need to find out about. So I'm hoping maybe in the future that I'll be able to check out more in regards to it. Lola, what are you wanting? Right, okay. As my daughter Lola it decides to join, she wants the charger. I'll let her off, right? I'll let her off, but there you go. She never even said hello. So yeah, I found it all really intriguing. And it's one that I want to kind of deep dive into. Or dive deeper into even. It's late, right? So, and I kind of want to. Brody Castle in particular is one of the venues I'm going to be going to. Some of these churches also, but there is another place in particular that I've not even mentioned tonight that I want to check out. And I believe the knights might have hid there. And it's a place called Plus Garden Abbey, run by the monks still to this day. The monks of Plus Garden Abbey, right? So I would like to get there, and I've been there before, but I'll be going now with a different kind of frame of mind. And who knows what we might stumble across, right? So we'll say our cheerios, and then we'll part ways, right? Love will pull us apart. Because of course we've all got lives to get on with. Well, yous have at least, right? So let me see. We'll say thank you. Much appreciated to everyone tonight. Dominic, fantastic. Good to see you. If anyone's got any more information to add, hit me up, send me an email, leave a comment. I'll check it out, right? I'm open. I'm open to many things, but also I'm closed to a lot of things. But I'm always willing to check things out, right? So good to see Dom in the hood. It's a duck as well. A pleasure to see you. Hasdak, good to see Hasdak, our American brother. A pleasure to see you. Wendy B, a pleasure, Wendy. Thank you very much for joining tonight. Katie Kane, good to see Katie back again. Bry was in the hood. Where did he go? There he goes. Good to see Bry. Memorial Gardens, great to have you tonight. Thank you for joining. Frank, the information tank. Fantastic. Good to see Frank. This would have been right up Frank's street tonight. I bet you Frank's left quite a lot of comments. I'm hoping anyway, right? Joni as well. A pleasure to see Joni. I hope you're doing well. You and the family. Great stuff. Hopefully we'll catch you live at some point. It's a duck, Katie, Frank, Bry. How far back can I go? Land Raver as well, who's speaking to Carmel, who must have been here but now gone. Ah, there she goes. Wonderful, fantastic. Lots of people, something a wee bit different. And we will definitely be expanding on it again, right? So thank you very much to everyone for joining. I'm likely gonna be back. Let me think. It could be tomorrow. It's either gonna be tomorrow night or not Sunday. Is it this Sunday I'm live with Scott's Armor? I can't remember the date now. I'll have to double check, but I'm live with Scott's either this week or next week. I think it might be next week at the end of the month. So I'll let you know when that is, but failing that, I'll probably catch you all for a bit of a catch up on Talbanocky Live, the backup channel, to see how folk are getting on. And we'll have a chat. We'll take it from there, discuss what might be the next live stream that I do. And yeah, been a pleasure, right? So thanks again to everyone. Carl as well. Good to see Carl. I think I missed someone there as well. Budgie Burger. There you go, Budgie in the hood. Flew on in at the end. Stole the limelight at the very end. Someone said that to me once about a comment. They said, oh, what was it they said again? I can't even remember now. My wife put me off. She's getting the blame, right? Anyway, we're pretty much done. I'm gonna try and find a tune. You fell asleep. Well, it couldn't have been that good then, right? You woke up. He's still bloody going. God's sake. Get him off. Oh well, hey. Do you know this? Someone said that before. Oh, I put it on and when I'm going to sleep. I'm talking people to sleep here, man. Not good. And that's me trying to be as enthusiastic as I can. I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe there's a career there, right? For me. Talking people to sleep. Hey, it would be better than taking some form of bloody medication, right? I know my wife listens to like the sea or the rain, like the album from The Rain. The Trees have released an album. Here, listen. And that can be quite soothing. I don't mind it, to be honest. Oh, Linda as well. You've just made it. Linda, fantastic. A pleasure to see you. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll call it a night. And I'll catch you either tomorrow or on Sunday. Right, so get out there. Have a good weekend. Do not for one split second even entertain the thought of fear. Don't do it. It's gone. Eradicated. Do what you need to do. Do not let anybody get in your way. And like I always say, no matter what, no matter where, do not comply. And that is about it. Bye-bye.
Ye hillans and ye lawns, oh, what hae ye been? They hae slain the Earl o' Murray, and laid him on the green. He was a braw callant, and he rade at the ring. Oh, the bonny Earl o' Murray, he might have been the king. Lang may his lady look o'er frae Castle Doon, ere she see the Earl o' Murray come sounding through the town. Way betide thee, Huntley, and what for did ye say? I hae bade ye bring him wi' ye, but forbade ye him to slay. He was a broad callant, and he played at the ball. Oh, the bonny Earl o' Murray, the flower among them all. Lang may his lady look o'er frae Castle Doon, ere she see the Earl o' Murray come sounding through the town. Ye Hielands and ye Lowlands, oh, what hae ye been? They slain the Earl o' Murray and laid him on the green. He was a broad callant, and he rade at the rain. Oh, the bonny Earl o' Murray, he might have been the king. Lang may his lady look o'er frae Castle Doon, ere she see the Earl o' Murray come sounding